Okay, welcome everyone to the mastermind number 2. Trying to make sure I have everything up and running. Okay, so the way that this webinar app works is I don't have the ability. Hi Tammy, welcome. I don't have the ability to open audio for participants. And so you'll simply submit any feedback, questions that you have in the question section, okay? Now there are two features here. There's a chat feature where I've typed in a message that says, welcome to Mastermind 2. And there is a question and answer section, and that's where you all were entering your communication. All of the data and information that you would use to fill in the gaps to create a business plan. It allows you to go through this step first. So it's very important first step before diving into writing the business plan, but it's often a step that's skipped by entrepreneurs who aren't aware of it. So I'm going to introduce it to you again today with the hopes and expectation that you all will actually complete the business model for your business so that I can be assured that you have a solid idea of what direction you're headed and how you're going to get there. Okay? All right. Okay. Have you ever wondered whether or not you're doing the right thing in your business? I can't imagine that there isn't anyone who has not had late night, early mornings thinking about wondering whether or not they're running their business appropriately, effectively, or if there's something that you could do better to essentially increase sales, generate more revenue, find more customers, all of the above. And often those are answers that you can find in your business model before starting and before investing a lot of money and a lot of time into your venture. So what does it take to go from initially the idea that you had and actually creating the model and then running a functioning business? Takes a lot. Takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of time, takes a lot of money, commitment, resources, a lot. And so using a structure like the lean canvas or a format like the lean canvas can help you cut down on the amount of time it may take you to build a solid model, but then also run an efficient and effective business. You often, I at least 21 years in doing this, have seen business owners go from, I have an idea, I want to start a business, I don't want to work for anyone else, skip the model and jump right into business with undercapitalized, not enough resources, uncertainty about how they were going to do it, but they do it anyway. And sometimes you have unicorns that will be extraordinarily successful. I've seen it. I've been involved in programs where you have business owners who accidentally become or grow million-dollar enterprises without ever putting together a model. And then you have business owners who start without designing a model and fail within 5 years. doesn't mean that the model is going to be perfect or it's guaranteed that you're going to be successful, but what it does is at least gives you the opportunity to evaluate the business idea structurally to make sure that you have covered and thought about all of the risks in every facet of running that business to ensure that you can do the best you can to create a foundation for success. Okay? All right. So we go from idea, we go to model, and then we build a business. What does that take? Let me go back here to this example here. So I'm going to read it off to you, and you guys tell me what you think this business is. A customer needs to ship a document to arrive tomorrow in a different state. The customer takes the package to a local shipping location and gives the package, address, and payment to the attendant. The package goes through a systematic process, and the package arrives at the destination the next day. What business is this? You can type that in the Q&A section. Certainly. Bo says FedEx or UPS. Dennis says FedEx and Mary says FedEx. Absolutely. You see how easy that was to understand what that business was? That's how easy it should be for consumers or businesses to understand your model. It was very easy for us to understand just by supplying data related to the process, the service, the problem that exists, the system that is used to make it happen, and the end result. That's exactly what business modeling is. Coming up with the structure that defines how you do business. That's it. And if you can do this, whereas people, regular, everyday people will understand your business, you can create a foundation for success. There are other variables that you have to put in place, but building the right model is a start. Okay? All righty, so keep that in mind. All right, so what's holding you back? You have an idea, you think it's pretty good, you get excited about the new product or service that you want to sell, and then what happens? What happens in the beginning when you are just in the idea phase, whether you were laid off, fired, you quit, or you started a side hustle while you were working your full-time job? What happened in that process of you have an idea, you think that the idea could potentially work, you get really excited about it, you start really thinking about what you could do, and then what happens? Anybody, just put it in the chat, or you can raise your hand and I'll unmute you. No money. Tammy says no moolah. True. Very true. What else happens? Idea phase, you think it's a good idea. If you type it in, I'll say, often what happens is that you'll start doing research, you'll start asking your friends and family, what if? I'm thinking about doing this. They'll tell you it's a great idea, you should go for it. They'll tell you that doesn't hurt to start. And then you'll start to think about, well, what is it that I don't know? You'll continue to do research and ask questions. You may or may not write a full business plan. Then you start making purchases of the things you think you need. And then you start looking for customers. Typically, that is the process that entrepreneurs will go through. They skip the whole process of writing the plan, creating the performas, and really figuring out whether or not the idea is feasible or if it will work. So let's see, Bo said you start questioning yourself. That's very true. Being uncertain of yourself, very true, Dennis. And then analysis paralysis. You read books, you read articles, you study, you read a little bit more, you start questioning, will it work, will it not? Am I qualified? Should I do it? I need money, I have to pay bills. All of these are things that are happening. And then Mary says fear kicks in. Absolutely. And then maybe one day you hear a testimony, a sermon, or you see someone who's on the face or cover of a magazine of how they did it overnight, and you think, why not me? And so you jump. That's how it happens sometimes, right? Or you need money and you have to start selling something, and so you start. And that's okay. That's sometimes the journey that we go through. However, the first journey that you should take is identifying your business model first. So let's go ahead and get into why that's important. This is just the person who came up with this methodology, Ash Mariah, came up with this. It's called Book and a Website Running Lean. It's a great resource. Pick it up if you like, but I'm teaching you what's in the book. Faith kicks in and you jump. That's right, Mary. Alrighty, so let's move on to the actual business model. So if you were in previous workshops or webinars of mine, I've often talked about Cara Golden, and you probably have seen this product before. This is Hint. This is the fruit essence water that you now see on the shelves in just about every grocer. Um, if you haven't seen it, more than likely you passed it up and it was in, say, Whole Foods or Central Market or Cox Farmers Market. It's in more of the upper end grocery stores, more so than, and it's also in Aldi as well. But Cara Golden started this business in her kitchen, creating fruit essence water for her children in her home because she wanted them to drink more water. But you know how children are about water, and sometimes even adults, they hate the taste of water. And so she didn't want to feed them sodas and juices with a lot of sugar. She just wanted them to drink more water at dinner. And so she started putting fruit in the water, and the kids would drink it. And that was, I think, now probably 11 years ago. She started out of her home. And now, today, 11 years later, her water business is a multi billion-dollar enterprise. Whereas this water and variations of this water, she now has sparkling water and some other product lines that she introduced, is just about in every major high-end grocery store across the globe. 11 years ago. Simple concept, selling fruit essence water. And I always chuckle at this because in your mind, we often think, I could have done that. I put cucumber and watermelon in water before. Why didn't I think of bottling it and selling it? Right? Well, that often happens, right? And for her, she really understood that there was a market of parents who felt the same way she did, who did not want their children to drink sugary beverages, and they wanted them to drink more water. And so she leaned into the research to find that that was a trend and figured out a way to build a business model that would allow her to get her bottled fruit essence water into the hands of parents who wanted and adults who wanted water but didn't want sugar. And so that concept grew out of a simple idea, but she did the work. She figured out what was the best model for her to create and build a product, get it into the hands of the consumer who wanted it most, and be able to distribute it at a low cost to generate high profit margins. That's essentially what we do when we are building a business model. So let me move forward to showing you what that model looks like. So stage one, the very first stage in understanding how to create a business model is to fundamentally understand the problem. What is the problem that exists for the target audience that you believe would buy what you have to offer? And the first rule of thumb to remember, it's not everyone. Everyone does not want to buy what you have to offer. There is a specific group or segment of businesses or individuals who have a problem or a need or an unforeseen opportunity that you can take advantage of. And you have to figure out who they are and what the problem is. Not 6 problems, not 7, but 1 to 2 problems that exist for a particular group that has a need. That's what you're looking for, is to understand the problem first. What is the fundamental problem in your industry or in your market that you feel you have the one solution to solve it for that group? Okay, so what's the problem? So as I'm sharing, I want you to really be thinking about what's the problem that exists. And sometimes this can be more challenging than you think if you really don't understand your industry, your market, or your market segments, meaning the people or the businesses in the space that you're trying to sell in. If you do not understand what their needs are, you're guessing. And remember in the workshops, I mentioned to you that you want to remove any guessing from the equation. You truly want to understand truly want to understand what the problems are. And the only way to do that is to ask your market segments, to ask the people or the businesses to get a true understanding. Okay? And write them down and then really figure out, where do I fit? How can I deliver service or product to fit and serve this problem or meet this need cost effectively? Okay, so understand the problem. And then next, define, as I just mentioned, the solution. How can you be the source that this market needs and wants to buy the solution from? That too can be quite difficult if you really don't understand what you're selling. That's number one, for you to figure out what it is that you're selling, and to ensure that you match it up to the problem or demand that exists. Often, you can see businesses that don't really understand the demand, or they don't understand the opportunity or problem, because they struggle with sales. They struggle every year with selling what they have to offer. And that's a simple problem of misunderstanding of the market, not truly defining the model first. Because if there was a true demand or opportunity that exists and a solution that fits, and you were in the right place at the right time, it's inevitable for you to get sales. So defining what you bring to the table to meet the demand or opportunity or the problem that exists is critical. And that takes time for you to ask the right questions and figure out, where do I fit in this space? What could I bring to the table that they would want to buy from me? And then deliver it, okay? Without confusing the customer on what you offer, how to buy, and so forth, okay? Next, stage 3 is validating your method. So once you've identified the problem that exists, one or two of them, not 10 or 12, one or two problems that exist in the market that you've identified. You've identified whom you're trying to sell to, whether it is individual consumers, businesses, nonprofits, whomever you're trying to sell to. You've identified and profiled them down to giving them a persona or a name. Jesse is my customer. Jesse is 35 years old. Jesse has 2 children. Jesse is in the market for childcare. She has an annual income of $60,000. She has a minimal disposable income budget to cover or pay for childcare. How do I meet that need for Jesse? That's what I mean. It's really truly defining the persona of your audience, who they are. In stage 3, you want to validate qualitatively. What that really means, these are big business words that just simply means you want to be able to design the audience or define who the audience is, how many people exist, profile them demographically, age, race, income, geographically where they live, if it's businesses, how large the business is, how many employees, what's the revenue size of the business. That's what I mean by putting numbers to the market that you're trying to sell. You also want to understand how many people or businesses exist in this space as well. That's really important. Why is that important? If you are creating a unique service or product that only serves the need of 100 people, do you feel that that business would be around for a long time? Probably not. It's not large enough. You want to find a space or offer a product or service in a market where there are millions of people that fit the description of your profiled target audience, not everyone, because that increases the opportunity for sales for you. 100 people in comparison to a million. 100 people, you can sell to them and be done in a year. A million gives you an opportunity to build traction over time and continue to sell year after year after year. You're looking for volume in numbers. How many people exist, or businesses, if you sell to businesses, in my industry and in my space that I'm trying to sell to? I'm trying to provide a solution to a problem. Is it big enough? If it's not big enough, you can't force it. You cannot force a business to exist when there's no market that exists. And the only way to determine that is to design the business model and conduct the research to see, is it feasible? Is it large enough? Are there enough people? Are they here? Are they in Texas? Or are they in Oklahoma or California or Chicago? These are the questions that you have to answer before you start. And that's why business modeling is important. We cannot guess on the numbers as relates to our market. We have to know, okay? We have to understand the life cycle and the lifestyle of our consumers. We have to understand where they live, what their preferences are, how do they pay? Are they people who pay via credit card? Are they people who pay by check? Do they pay cash because they don't carry debt? All of these questions you have to be able to answer about your market in stage 3 when you're defining or designing your model, okay? The next stage 4 is to really define and design your product or service and ensuring that it is appealing to the audience that you're trying to sell to, that it speaks to them and their problem and their need, and that it is easily accessible. And that comes with understanding operationally, how am I going to promote, distribute, and deliver what I have to sell to the audience I'm trying to reach, and thinking through it and building systems and processes to be able to do that. And that takes a little bit of time for you to think through so that you can incorporate that into the business model. This is the part that often entrepreneurs, when I was talking about going from idea to business and skipping the model, they haven't figured out just yet. And then they stumble along the way when they start their business, trying to figure out what should my product look like, how should I distribute it, am I going to produce it out of my home, will I have customers come to my home to pick up, do I need to have a certain type of facility because of regulations and laws? All the questions that you have to ask yourself when you're preparing to sell your service or sell your products to the audience that you've identified. They need to be answered. And the business model helps you to figure that out through channels. Okay? So these are the important questions that you are asking yourself as you work to design the business model. And you want to figure it out and write it up first before you start to invest your money and time and resources into the operation and selling. Otherwise, you're going to constantly be fixing and adjusting and iterating until you find that sweet spot for yourself and your business. But that takes a lot more energy, time, and money versus working from the business model and the business plan and your action plan before. Okay, very good. So now, here is an example of the one sheet document that I had shared a version of it in workshop 4, but this is the actual version that I wanted to present to you, and you'll receive a copy. It's already in the presentation. You can download it if you find it. If not, don't worry. I'm going to email it to you, a blank one, but this is what the lean canvas looks like, okay? And again, I go back to this information that I've just walked you through, meaning the 4 stages, okay? So we are going to include 1 to 3 bullets that are descriptions of what is the true problem that exists. And with a couple of you all in our business advising sessions in the past, we've walked through this and created this for you to help you really truly understand, is there a problem or a need or a demand in this market, and what is it? The next section is the solution section. So this is solution 1 to problem 1, solution 2 to problem 2. You're not trying to solve all things for everyone. It's impossible, costs too much to try. You want to be very focused on what you do, what solution you bring to the table to meet either the opportunity or problem that exists for the market you've identified or the market segment you've identified, okay? 1 to 1. The next area is the unique value proposition. This is what makes you different than your competitors, what makes you unique, and how do you define value when it comes to solving the problem that your market segment has. And it takes a little bit of time for you to figure that out. But once you really understand what's your UVP, what makes you unique and different from others, based on the problem that you're trying to solve, it helps you to formulate better marketing strategy to reach that audience because you can highlight the things that make you unique, different, or better. And better is not always taste, customer service, or simply the best. The best is too subjective, depends on who you're talking to. Taste is subjective as well, depends on who you're talking to. Customer service is subjective. It's not a value proposition. It is not something necessarily that is a driver for customers to come to you. Yes, it's a byproduct of what you do, but it's not the main reason or focus as to why the customers are coming to you to buy your product or service. Hopefully that makes sense, okay? Because I often hear people use subjective explanations as to what makes them unique, but it's really not the factors that make you unique. Your factors can be, how do you solve a problem better than your competition? Hopefully that helps. The next segment here is unfair advantage. Experience of building over 30 brands. I'm sorry, that's the example in this one. Unfair advantage is something related to, let's say that you're the only company that has a patent on what you do, and no one else has it. So therefore, no one else can deliver the service or product the way that you do for the price that you do because you're the only company that holds the patent to that product or service. That's unfair advantage. Another example could be that maybe you're the only person that has a skill that the market is looking for, and there's 5 people in the whole United States that is skilled or in this area, and you're one of them. That gives you an unfair advantage over everyone else in the industry because you're one of 5 who has been trained or certified in the space. That's an example of unfair advantage, okay? So you would think about what gives you an unfair advantage over your competition. It is not the same as unique value proposition whatsoever. They're 2 different things, okay? So you want to think about, is there an advantage that you have over others? Another is the next. This is where you break down your market segments, your customer segments. You are truly identifying whether you're selling to consumers, to businesses, organizations, government. You're deciphering who's the market, and then you dig deeper underneath and determine what industry and what type of businesses or consumers you would be selling to by profiling them. Let's say that you have a product that is designed specifically for mid-sized businesses that generate $1 million to $10 million in revenue annually. They have to have 100 or more employees, and they typically are going to have a manufacturing facility. That's what I mean by profiling the customer segment, being very detailed about whom you're selling to. That's what you're putting here in this section that applies to the problem that you're solving. Okay, so you're going to have 1, 2, or 3, typically not more than that. If you get more than 3 customer segments, you're trying to sell, you're doing too much. You're trying to sell to too many people or companies or types. So you want to be very specific about where you fit in the market and whom you're trying to sell to and who's more likely to buy, okay? Okay. Next here, channels. This is this allows you to talk about how will you distribute your product and your marketing narrative or message. How will you reach this customer segment? What's the open door between you and the customer? And let me say this, and I said this in our workshops, social media doesn't work for everyone. Social media may not be the right tool for your business or channel based on what you do. So you truly have to evaluate your customer segment to understand where they are, where they work, how they buy, and where they show up so that you can always be in front of them, meaning your business, not you physically, but your business is always in front of them. Where should you appear? Where should your merchandise appear? Where should your marketing collateral appear? Where should you be promoting your company? That's what we mean by channels. And then how will you distribute? What facility type do you need to distribute or produce your services or products? If you're a consulting company, perhaps you can work from home in your office, or you may need a small office in a space that's near your customer base. If you are a trucking company, you may need to have a space where you hold your truck and the ability to reach shippers or be able to get to locations quickly in order for you to transport. These are details about the channels that you would use to reach your customers, but also distribute your services and products. You have to think that through, and that's what this section is for. Skipping high-level concept, go on over to key metrics, this box here. Key metrics really focuses on what's the data that you're going to collect and analyze to determine whether or not you are reaching your goals, to measure success. What numbers do you need to check on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual basis that will help you determine whether or not your model works and that your strategy for generating sales works? And that's different for each business. You can look up on Google for your industry key performance metrics, also known as KPIs, key performance indicators, to see what do other companies use, what other data do other companies like mine use to measure success. And that can help you get some ideas so that you're not trying to figure out, well, what am I supposed to track and how am I going to track it? Okay, so you can use Google, put in key performance indicators or metrics for blank industry, and start there to figure out what should I be tracking and where is this information going to be held. And if I don't understand how to read it or how to put it in place, that's when you come to a company like mine or in your BA sessions to get help in figuring that out and building it. The last two is going to be your cost structure. That is the same as your expenses. How much is it costing you to generate the revenue that you expect to create or bring in from selling your products and services to your customer segments? So this cost structure is just line items of expenses that you expect to pay to operate this model. And when let me see, we've already hosted our financial workshop before. And I talked about the income statement and the balance sheet. Your operating expenses for your business is going to appear in the income statement in the third segment of the profit and loss statement. The cost structure are the operating expenses that appear on the income statement, okay? Another thing that could be quite helpful to you, if you are uncertain what type of line items you should have on an income statement for your type of business, Google it. Just simply Google income statement for blank industry, and all types of income statement samples will pop up, and that will help to give you an idea of what types of operating expenses you could expect to have to pay in your business. You may not have all of them, but it certainly will give you a running start on what to expect in case you are uncertain what type of expenses you need to track. Okay? All right. And lastly, this section is revenue streams. This is just an outline of the products that you would sell based on category, or the services that you sell to your customers to generate money. That's it. This more than likely would not be more than 5 lines, because remember, you're not trying to solve all problems for customers. You specialize in an area where you offer a product or a service to solve a problem. And you're not trying to solve all things. You want to focus on what you do well and sell that. And so your revenue stream may be 1 to 3 line items that list the categories of products or services that you sell, and that's how you make money. That's what you sell to in the market to generate income. And so when you have fully written all of this information in this simplified one sheet compressed model, this helps you to truly be able to talk about and iterate what it is that you do, what business you're in, how you make money, who you're selling to, how you sell, what you measure for success, how much does it cost you, and how much you're generating in revenue. Revenue is money, income from sales. It makes it so much easier when you do it, when you start here before you dive into adding all of the filler information in the business plan to expand on how you're going to execute each of these. Okay, so that is a business model. Now let me see if I can answer questions. If you have questions, put them in the Q&A, or if you know how to raise your hand, I can unmute you on my control panel. Anyone still have questions? Okay, I'm gonna unclick April, unmute. April, I'm not sure if you have a question or not, so I'm calling on you. Okay, maybe not. Okay, Dennis, I'm gonna unmute you. Did you have a question, Dennis?
No, I don't.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. Okay, if you don't have any questions, I'm just waiting to see if anyone has any. I will be sure to forward to you the blank lean canvas again, this copy, and I'll make sure that you also have a copy of the PowerPoint. For those of you who are in the program, I'm asking that you complete your lean canvas in its entirety and email that to me before we meet for our one-on-one sessions, our BA sessions. You may begin to book those. Just understand I have to approve the booking because I have two other programs happening at the same time, and my schedule is really full, so I have to find spaces for you. But Monday and Tuesday are the better days for booking your BA or business advising one-on-one session with me. And you get 4 sessions, 1 hour each with me throughout November before those of you who are interested in applying to pitch for the $10,000. That application will open in the second week. I think it's November 6th that the application for the pitch competition will open online. You'll receive an email with the link and instructions, so don't worry about that. And it will be open until I think November 28th. And then we'll make the announcement as to who's accepted and who will pitch. And the pitch competition again will be December 7th from 10 a.m. to 12 at Dallas College for $10,000. Okay, so please make sure that you complete your lean canvas, send it over to me via email. You may begin booking your sessions. We have 3 more mastermind sessions. The next one is next Monday.